always ask people I start with, you want to see something you've never seen before? And they go, well, what? And I say, well, I'm a college-educated liberal Democrat here to fight for your Second Amendment rights. So what am I doing here? When I say that, they're like, okay, now what? What do you want from me, liberal Democrat? What can you teach me? The truth is, I can't teach you anything about what it's like to own guns. I'm new. I'm very new, and my process was fraught. I learned so much about how messed up our laws are when talking to Michael here after going through my wear and carry process. It's very confusing. The laws are long, and they don't make any sense federal to state or state to state. So I'm just glad I made it. I answered all the questions correctly, and I can wear and carry in the state of Maryland. And the whole good and substantial reason, I'll get to that later. My good and substantial reason is just being me. Just being a person who worked in small business and had tools, worked alone for years, left the door unlocked while I'm working in a loud environment with tools. I was a target without even knowing I was a target. And my good and substantial reason became giant and overwhelming reason, which I'll tell you about in a bit. But why should you care about what I'm here trying to say to you? Well, I'm here because I used to be against gun ownership, I'm sorry about that. I was clueless, uninformed, and kind of ignorant about it. I'm here because something's happened to me to make me a more passionate supporter of wear and carry. I'm here because I met Michael Burke when I was ready to know about those things and when I was ready to hear about protecting myself. And also because he knew what to say to me at that time. So again, why should you care? How and when you talk to someone about guns and their rights really matters. How and when you approach somebody when they're ready to hear you matters. Your empathy and compassion and leadership as a member gives you an opportunity to change someone's mind and also change their life. You should care because empowering someone who once felt powerless is going to set that person free. It's going to make them a powerful voice against ignorance and a proud supporter for others. But how did I come full circle? Well, about me, so I grew up on a farm. That's not weird to have guns around, There was my brother's hunt. And one of my brothers is like a champion hunter. It's not weird to have guns around. However, I never learned how to shoot. That would be weird, I guess, in our family for one of the women to learn how to shoot. And unfortunately, my dad was a violent guy. When my parents were getting divorced, he had threatened to kill me and my mother. He carried a gun in his pocket. And we were afraid. We learned how to fear a person who was allowed to carry a gun, homeless person. So I became a person who was anti-violence and, as logic followed it, anti-gun. No gun, no violence, right? Come on, laugh. Come on, So with that thinking, right, I grew up, I had that line of thinking, and I had a couple friends who lived in the middle of Baltimore City. I was a nanny for a good friend for a while, and he came to me one day and he said, Darlyn, I got a gun for the house, and I just want you to know, this is my gun safe, this is where I'm going to keep it, don't worry. This is not something you have to worry about, I'm just going to have it here. But you should know it's here because you're here all day. And I was really appalled. And in retrospect, I don't know why. He was trying to tell me that, there was protection and that he was looking out for me and myself alone with a baby all day. And, it really does matter how you speak to someone, how you approach someone when they're uninitiated and they don't know what their rights are. They don't know why they need to be protected. Because for a while, it's easy to live in a bubble where you don't know that the police won't come and help you. They don't have to come when you call. They don't have to arrest that guy now. They don't have to. A restraining order doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean it's going to stop that guy from coming to your house and kill you if he says he will. So, in 2013, I met a man who became pretty much obsessed with me, but in the beginning he seemed like a nice guy, you know? You don't really know a predator when you're looking at one because they don't prey on your weaknesses. They don't. They exploit your strengths. So if they know that you're the kind of person who doesn't need help and doesn't feel like they need protection because you've got this, they will prey on that strength and make you believe it's true. So, over the course of about 6 months, I figured out he was stalking me. He was showing up everywhere I was. And it got really scary, really quick, right? So, I did what anybody would do in my case, so I tried to get a restraining order. And you need, guess what? I didn't know what kind of proof you needed to get a restraining order. I had some help, but I had no idea what kind of a manipulator that I was dealing with and how hard it was going to be for me to do that, and it fell through. I stood in front of a judge that told me sometimes guys are stupid. Well, yeah. So I was really upset by that. And I thought for a long time that there was nothing else I could do, that there would be nothing else, no other steps I could take to protect myself, to feel safe at work, to feel safe at home. So when I called the police multiple times throughout that year, they didn't really do anything. I mean, they took a report. This was somebody who was showing up every day at my work, listening at the door, knew where I lived, followed me from, I moved. They followed me from like one house to another. At some point, he was even breaking into my car at night, had made a key to my car without my knowledge. So things were getting more and more serious, okay? I had the mistaken belief that the police were going to be able to do something about this. Like, if I call you, you're going to help me. If I tell you this person is threatening me, you're going to help me. And that's just not the case. So there's no reason why a person in my position would choose not to own a gun, in retrospect, right? If I were talking to a woman today, I'd be like, what are you waiting for? What? You already work alone, you need to protect yourself. Think about yourself. You can't have a bodyguard 24 hours. What are you going to do? And if I talk to a victim today, you know, I'm the first person to tell her, you should get on the range and get trained. You can come with me anytime. And that a gun is not something you have to fear. It's not for crazy people. You know, being a wear-carry person doesn't make you a cowboy. I'm not a cowboy still. But I'm still a target. So, in about 2015, I guess the stalking got so bad that I was carrying with me like a hammer every day to and from my workshop. Because it's not weird for someone who was doing woodworking like I was to be carrying a hammer, right? So this was like, in my mind, this is a legitimate weapon, right? I was still completely unaware that I could potentially apply and get a wear carry permit. I was even recording my walks from my car to work and back because I thought one of these days he's going to show up and I'm going to need some proof that I can prove that this person is stalking me, that it's actually happening, right? But that's when the threats started. He started threatening me, my family, my friends, my boss. Started harassing my boss because my boss was on to him. For some reason, it didn't occur to her that, you know, don't pick at crazy people, right? Don't tease them. Just leave them alone. Because that just sort of escalated the situation. I was a terrified wreck, and I still had no clue I could own a gun. I couldn't prove that this man was violently stalking me and demanding that I stay in contact with him, and under the threat of harm, and I still didn't realize it was within my rights to wear and carry. So by 2017, the threats had escalated to a serious and dire level. He said he was coming for me. And one day he did. And it wasn't in a dark alley, you know, bad guys, whatever. It wasn't like a mask or anything like this. No, it was at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, a block from my house. And, he showed up and he meant it. And what did I do? I ran in my house, right? Who did I call? I called a lawyer. I didn't call cops. I called a lawyer. So I had to sit on the phone with a lawyer for all day, pretty much, who tried to convince me that this is the time that you go file criminal charges, you get a restraining order this time with the proof that I'm going to help you put forth, and you learn how to protect yourself. And I'm glad to say that this was a friend of the family, and he knew me well enough, and he could tell me that he too is a person who has wear and carry privileges. So he was able to talk to me with some compassion about that. But it took all day to convince me to do any of these things, right? So when you're dealing with crazy people like that, and you file a restraining order, what do you think they do?
We get that.
Yeah?
Well, wait a minute, they go away.
Oh.
Because I told them they wouldn't want to violate the law, right?
Right. So no, they counter-file against you, right? You're the crazy one, it's you. So that generates a whole new fear. Oh my God, I'm going to jail now, right? Unless you can prove it. So slowly, I was becoming a victim's rights advocate, right? I get so angry at this whole process, the fact that he could appeal against this and fight me just to make him go away, that I went down to the State House to speak out in support of Bill HB 599? Yes. For coercive control, to get rid of people like this quicker, right? Because I'll tell you what, when the arrest warrant finally came for him, they waited a week. I was getting death threats and they waited a week to arrest him.
Wow.
So what am I going to do during that week of time? Sit in my house like scared to death? Yes, that's what I did. Afraid to really leave my house because they arrested him at court because they didn't want to embarrass him at work.
Wow.
Right. And this is real. This is what happens. So meanwhile, I go to the State House that day because my own mother, helped introduce legislation to the floor to be heard so that more victims can have something to go with to court, And I met Michael Burke there, who was there as a support for a different victim, who's also an MSI member. And it just so happened that I was ready to hear about how to protect myself. So, can somebody tell me what the current messages are about guns and gun ownership, like that you hear from other people that are not people who think like us?
Guns are bad and dangerous.
Evil.
Guns kill people.
Compensating.
We have to protect our children.
Yeah, that's what they want to do.
Protect the children.
More likely to get shot.
So, the messages I had gotten to that point were just those kinds of things. Guns kill more people than they protect. Lie. Right? Only bad guys and crazy people who want to ever own and shoot a gun, right? That's true, isn't it? And being pro-gun makes you crazy or bad and likely to hurt someone.
Yeah.
And only paranoid people believe that the law or the police won't protect you.
Oh, that's a good one.
And you can put your hands safely in the hands of the law or the police. Sure, no, wrong. So my beliefs changed when an MSI member told me my rights and offered to help me. He offered to teach me, to take me to the range, and help me apply for wear and carry. And he did that in a compassionate and empathetic way, knowing where I came from, what I was probably about, and what he was dealing with, and he made sure that there were no barriers for me to make that choice. He didn't even charge me, and he probably could have. He didn't say, well, my services cost $500. But I mean, in the real world, if you want to get a wear and carry just on your own, that training costs. Thanks, Mike, for not making that costly, because I couldn't afford it. So you might be saying to yourself that I might not have ever done any of this if I hadn't had a stalker, and that's not true. Because I had a stalker for years. 4.5 years I had a stalker. I would have never changed my mind about guns or wear and carry had someone not kindly took me aside to tell me my rights. He didn't tell me I'm a stupid liberal. He didn't tell me I should have done it years ago. And he didn't tell me that this would solve all my problems because I wouldn't have listened. And yet, here I am today speaking in Second Amendment support, and also for support of wear and carry in the state of Maryland. Speaking to others is a really big opportunity. The same holds true when we speak to others in the world about guns or our rights. If you want to change minds, you have to be kind, compassionate, and understanding. Remove barriers to learning or their experience. Speak the right words. Open your mind to their perspective. It's hard, I know. And most of all, remove their fears through your patience and experience. Offer them to go to the range with you. Offer to teach them. Destroy the myths that surround the issue. Through your words, through your actions, through your involvement, compassionate messages, and the truth. So, with that in mind, I'm really afraid of things like the red flag law. I'm a perfect target for that. I'm a crazy person with their eye on me who is somebody who likes to lie to the cops, to anybody. And if he decides one day that he's not happy that I own a gun, what's going to happen?
He's a red flag kid.
He might. He can.
He wants you defenseless, that's the whole point.
That's right. So when you speak to people like me who come from places, I'm not saying that speak to victims like this, because not all of them are going to be ready to hear you. But to people who come from a different perspective, it makes me nervous when they start saying things like, if there's no guns, there's no violence. I wish I could tell them that that man could have killed me with his bare hands. And just me having a wear and carry, that doesn't solve the problem. I still have to go to the range and practice. Me being afraid isn't the reason why I went. Everybody knows that if you're fearful and afraid and you're wielding a gun, you're a danger to yourself. So,
I missed that part.
right? But it's not about being afraid. What Michael did was help empower me to take care of myself. Because I can't have someone by my side 24/7 who's going to be able to fend off a bad guy if he comes at me for any reason. Knife, ballpoint pen, anything. But I can, it's not the gun itself that makes me not afraid. It's the fact that I can. It's the fact that I can level the playing field. And am I carrying right now? No.
Why the hell not?
Why not?
Why not?
Because sometimes it's just nice not to have to. That's okay.
It's okay, you have the choice.
But we like that you have the freedom of choice.
Exactly. I like to be able to choose. So thank you for inviting me to speak to you today.